We have in the pipeline also I've heard it said by Kenya, the Science and Technology Park. It's an initiative that was undertaken by ISASCO and UNESCO. The report has just been received as late as a month ago, and trying to exploit the report and see what we make out of it to really make a push as far as the science park is concerned. We have, as a ministry, since we're trying to build that foundation, to really take the schools, to take education, especially TVET, to the people. And that small country has 6 educational regions, and what we're trying to do is strategically locate these multipurpose training skill centers where the products are given entrepreneurial skills. We are not trying to create job seekers anymore. We're saying it's a system with an ICT approach, but with a science and technology innovation approach where we develop, we nurture job creators instead of job seekers. And that's why we're trying to, as an initiative, we say we try to strategically establish and operate with the collaboration of the communities, these multipurpose skills training centers. What are the challenges for tertiary and higher education? We don't have a policy on higher education. The vision on ICT is a national one, where they're trying to use ICT as a platform. But I think it's just logical that the Ministry of Higher Education, with all its line institutions, in collaboration with the country and the communities, to come up with an ICT policy in higher education. So as challenge-wise, we need to develop and implement an ICT policy. Tertiary, access to tertiary and higher education, we need to increase. You know, one of the main recommendations and areas that was looked at the World Conference on Higher Education in 2009 in Paris was the issue of access. And ODL was really one of the avenues of increasing access, ICT another, in terms of increased access, especially for women also, because they've never had they've had a raw deal for a long, long time. The issue of quality, TVET also, but its relevance, we need to increase access to. Development physical and electronic infrastructure, we don't have as a country. That's why I think the beauty about us is that we can learn from the initiatives, we can learn from the experiences, we can learn even from the failures and the mistakes others made to build our own and build a very strong foundation. We are also have the challenge of institutionalizing ICT in the training programs. And when we say ICT, we've heard from the previous speakers where we need to start ICT very early with the kids. Once it's institutionalized in those mindsets, they'll grow up with it. And this phobia that has really prevented teachers from having a hands-on experience on ICT will be addressed very, very early. Data, again, is another challenge. The data problem is rife in this continent. With full respect to AU, the first education decade, when we looked at it, it was a question of data that would really mar how you gauge what progress you've made. And I think the data issue is something that we really need to work on. As a ministry, and starting from the very foundation, we're trying to see how best we can address the data issue very early on so that we start on the sound footing. What is the current investment in education in the Gambia? This is in dollars, and those who are very mathematically minded, the exchange rate is 29 to $1. So for these are actuals, because we don't have the actuals for 2011, the whole purse is 549 million for these, and 18% of that goes to basic education and secondary, but higher education of that purse only takes 1.7%. You see the gap? Higher education is expensive, it's resource intensive. When we say resources, of course, everything can be monetized, but resources are required. And if higher education with science and technology, ICT to come in, that's a drop in the ocean. And that's the allocation in terms by level of education. And here we are with minimal allocation from the government. That's why I liked it also when the director of BRAID said this morning earlier on that government is doing what it can. But education, especially higher education, is everybody's business. What are we doing? Investing in science and technology for a sustainable development. The areas that would require support, and support, concrete support that doesn't take from one African Education Summit to another, but support that is very immediate. We're looking at areas of establishing the Institutes of Science and Technology. One is already in the pipeline. We've gone to the level of the civil works, but then an Institute of Science and Technology that's looking up to MIT level takes much more than that. There's the civil works, there's the curriculum, there's the ICT programs, there's the personnel, and the furniture it requires to run an efficient and results-based Institute of Science and Technology. As I said earlier on, as a challenge, we want to establish TVET centers in state-of-the-art technical and vocational training centers around the country to help really push this business of science and technology. The training of teachers, one, remove the phobia, two, make them hands-on, but teachers as facilitators, not as teachers of guardians of knowledge. We need to provide adequate science laboratories in the schools, colleges, and universities. We cannot deal with higher education alone. It's the basis that feeds into the upper echelons of education. So it's a more of a holistic approach than purely higher education itself. We want to make science and technology more gender responsive. When you look at across this continent, a lot of the women, maybe that's a stereotypical way of analyzing the situation, but we have more teachers, more female teachers, more in the humanities than in the sciences. Maybe one of the things we need to do is really try to remove the phobia and tell them anybody can do it, and they can even do it better than the male counterparts. Most importantly is research and development. We have these institutions that are listed in the area of agriculture, in the area of public health, in the area of animal health, in the MRCs, that's the British colonial setup that has helped in medical research and infectious diseases. We also have the locals such as those in public health and nutrition, education and development, and WACA is a West African network in research, and the University of the Gambia, which is just started in research for the development of the country. Conclusion-wise, we are saying significant progress has been made. However, we are not yet out of the woods. We have seen that access has been expanded significantly, and when you look at the MDGs and EFA, I think Gambia was the only country that came very closer to the gender parity goal, which was both in the Education for All and the MDGs in 2005, because that was the benchmark. Yes, there is access, but the quality issue still remains. Huge investments so far has also been made in STI, science, technology, and innovation. And for further expansion and quality, those are needed. There is no two ways about it. Education is expensive. Higher education is expensive. Science, technology, education is even most expensive, to use the superlative. But we are hopeful. You know, when somebody is hopeful, it starts the context. With that hope, you can move on. With those moves, you can get some results. And even though the results may be some small margins, cumulatively they can make a difference. With political will, which is in the case of the Gambia, with the appropriate and implementable policies and programs, with the commitment, especially on the side of the partners, commitment, but it's not commitment that takes a longer while. It's an immediate commitment that can make a difference. Strategic partnerships all can make a difference. I still believe, we as a country believe that STI remains the key to Africa's transformation. Thank you very much. Shukran. Merci beaucoup.